As we said in the previous video, in order to have a good understanding of Meiji Restoration, we need to go back more in history and take a quick look at the Tokugawa period, okay, which is between 1603 and 1867. Okay? This is actually the last shogunate in Japan's history. Okay? Japan today, when we look at the world map, we would say it's a small island economy, right? However, even though it's small, compared to China, India, United States, but in long history of Japan, you find that uh, you know it was divided into small, like federal territories. So in each territory, there's a federal leader. In other words, he has his own land, uh, people, and military. Okay, and they're kind of separate from each other. Okay, and Tokugawa Ieyasu is the military leader who defeated other federal leaders and becomes the what's called the shogun, which is the great general. Okay, and you can find more background information from the documentary again posted on Moodle. Okay, so here we just want to give you a quick introduction to this political structure of ancient Japan, because this is useful for us to understand not just the Meiji Restoration, but even like the political development of Japan, happening in the 20th century. Also, later when we talk about Japan and China, when we compare these two, political structure of ancient Japan is also helpful. Okay. Now, in Japan, its emperor is actually a symbolic figure. Okay? In other words, the emperor did not have the real power. Okay? The shogun, the great general of its army, is the real dictator, okay, of the government, right? And between the emperor and the shogun, there's an imperial court, but again, the court is also symbolic. Okay, the job of the court, the imperial court, is to approval, the legitimacy of the shogunate. In other words, certify its ruling power, okay, on behalf of the emperor. Okay, but again, at the end of the day, it's still whoever controls the military would have a say. Okay, would have the power, right? Now, under the shogun or within the shogunate, that's the title of the military government. Okay? There are many daimyos. Daimyo means a local leader. Okay, in his own territory, as we said, they have their own people, their own military. Okay, and but during the Tokugawa period, these daimyos would have follow the order of the shogun. Okay, and but they are still kind of halfway independent from each other, okay, or separated from each other. Now, within the territory of each daimyo, there are many samurais. Samurais or samurai warriors are actually, the bottom of the ruling elite class. in ancient Japan, and they are not just the warriors; they're also well educated. They can read, they can write. Okay, so but also when there's a war, and then they can um, uh, quickly become the military leader. Okay, and so this is the again the political structure of ancient Japan. Okay, and in 1603, Tokugawa Ieyasu established, as we said, defeated other daimyos and established the Tokugawa shogunate. And for the next 260 years, the Tokugawa family ruled Japan. Okay? And because of that relatively, peaceful period, okay, so Japanese society actually developed in many different ways. Okay, of course, that development cannot be comparable, or even or close to what happened in 20th century, but compared to other ancient societies in China, in Great Britain, in other other corners in our world, it's still pretty significant. Okay, so let's check out the heritage from the Tokugawa period. Okay, because these heritage would be quite important for major restoration to take place. Okay, and the first one is the educational level. Okay, and we found that at the end of the Tokugawa period, about 40% of the males and 10% of the females are educated in Japan. In other words, they can write, they can read, even just a very basic level, but they, they were able to do that. Okay, now these numbers, 40% of males and 10% of females, today, we may think it's extremely low level, right? But again, that was before the major restoration. That was, like almost 200 years ago. Okay, and if we compare these numbers with other developing countries in 1960s, we find that these numbers are actually higher. Okay? In other words, in that respect, Japan is kind of 100 years ahead of other developing countries. Okay, because again, these levels were achieved in Japan before 1860. Okay, and the second thing is the capital accumulation. Once again, here capital means the machinery, equipment, tools, and not the financial capital. So we find that Japan already at the end of the Tokugawa period, it already had even very little, but they already had the railroads. Okay, they already built several power companies. They have many textile companies, okay, etc. So the industrialization already started. Okay, and it's not massive scale, but already like get started. And also in terms of its agricultural sector, the level, the technological level is pretty high. Okay, actually, the rice productivity in Japan is the highest in Asia. Okay, and so they have a pretty good growing methods, okay, and even the irrigation systems in Japan. Okay, and in terms of the infrastructure, they already built a network of the major roads. It's called a Senkin Kotai system. Okay, Senkin Kotai means for these daimyos, because they have the army, they have their own military forces on its territory. So the shogun, which is the national leader, military leader, still worry about these daimyos may stand up and challenge the power of the shogun, right? So the shogun, specifically Tokugawa Ieyasu, come up with this idea that they have their these daimyos live in their own territory for 1 year, and then next year they're gonna move to the city where the shogun lived. Okay, and then the third year they go back to their own territory, and the fourth year they come and live with the shogun. Okay, so that way again, the shogun will maintain a strong control over these daimyos. Okay, to make sure they're not going to come up and challenge the shogun's power. Okay, now Senkin Kotai, because the daimyos on a yearly basis need to travel between his own territory and where the shogun lived, so they already build, even again it's very primitive, but they already build a network of the roads across the country, so the daimyos can easily travel. Okay, and as I already said that they already have a very improved irrigation system, okay, which helps Japanese farmers to achieve a pretty high level of productivity. Okay? And so here, once we understand the heritage from the Tokugawa period, then we can go ahead and talk about the collapse of the shogunate, the Tokugawa shogunate. Okay? And that is also going to be the start of Meiji Restoration. We're going to do that in the next video.